Good morning, first grade. I hope you all are doing well. I miss all of your faces. So today in reading, we're gonna talk about a new story. We're gonna start a new story called John's Creatures. But first, I want to give you a little bit of background, and we're gonna review our service words and go over your new vocabulary words. So I want you to pretend back when kids used to go to school, they used to carry either a pail, like a bucket, and it was metal, or they would carry a metal lunchbox. And it used, now this, just pretend this is a lunchbox because this is all I had at home. I borrowed this from Kevin. But it's a little box and you put this down. It actually closes like that. And these kids, it used to be a little square metal box and they would put their lunch in there. Now we don't do that anymore. We have different ones. I think they still make those though. Now, if you look, I have something secret inside I'm going to show you in just a second. Now, you said right that we would carry our lunch in there, okay? But John, from the story John's Creatures, he used to put some silly things in his lunchbox, in his lunch pail. And they used to call it a lunch bucket because it used to be a bucket. I'm going to show you what was in my lunch bucket. Now, this has been on Mrs. Connor's back porch for a while, actually from like last spring, I think. There was nothing in it. It's been abandoned, but it's actually an old bird's nest. And a little piece broke off, and this was built up a little bit more, but all that wind we had this past weekend kind of blew it down into the grass, and I was like, oh, I have to take that. That's perfect for my lesson today. Well, this is John from your story used to put stuff like this in his lunch pail. Now that's silly. How many of you do that? I bet some of you would. Some of you boys. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little bit of background about John. He's a real person. This story is a biography about him, in very simple terms, of course, for first grade. And a biography is a big word, and all that means is it's a book written about John. Okay? Someone wrote a book about him. That's a biography. He was an American painter, and he was born in the country of Haiti about 200 years ago. That's a long time. He spent his childhood in France with his dad, and when he turned 18, he came here to America. He traveled all over the U.S., sketching birds in their natural habitats. Now, a sketch is kind of like a little drawing. He would draw and sketch birds, and in their natural habitats, that just means where they live, in their natural place, not in a zoo or not in your in an aquarium or anything like that. This is where they are actually living in their natural habitat. His sons, he had two sons, Victor and John, and they also drew birds and other animals. They cared about animals very much. And their sketches or drawings were published in books about birds and other animals, kind of like the story you're going to read today. Now, I want to go over your words real quick. These are words that you've seen before. It's been a while since we've gone over them, but I made new cards, so we're going to go over them. I hope you can see. Picture. You can say these with me. Put. Was. What. Where. Who. Your. And we're back to picture. And then I want to introduce your new vocabulary words. We have the word John, because that's our story, John's Creatures. So we have John. Lunch. Bucket. Bucket. Finch. Finch is a type of bird. Well, that's a long one. Eggshells. And if you break this apart, we could cover this up. That's a compound word. There's one word, egg. Cover that up. Take that S off. There's another word, shell. And then there's more than one, so we added an S. And then you put it all together and you get eggshells. Paper. And then we're back to John. Go ahead and turn in your books to let me look here, page 29. And we're going to go ahead and do a little bit of a picture walk with me. And we're going to go over the words. And then that's it for today. Pretty easy. So page 29. And it says at the top, if you look in bigger letters and they're darker letters, bold, it says John's Creatures. That's the title of your story. It's a biography of John Audubon, so a real man. And it was retold by Karen Wilt. So that's who wrote it, Karen Wilt. And then if you look at the very next part on there are smaller words, but they're bold too. And it says the nest. Ooh, so maybe they're talking about a nest like what I just showed you. Go ahead and look at your first line under there. John. So I want you to notice that there's those little marks again, quotation marks, and that shows that someone's talking. And there's one of your new vocabulary words, John, comma, so we pause. Follow along with your pointer finger. What is in your lunch bucket? Now, if we look at the picture, what do we see? We see some people that are dressed a little different than we dress today. And that's okay. That's how they dressed back then. And this lady, I believe, is his mom. That's who it looks like. She's got her little bonnet on, and she's got a really nice long dress on and a little shawl. And she's looking at what John's holding. And what is John holding? A pail. And what is in that pail? If you guessed a bird's nest with eggshells, you are right. So that tells a lot about what the words we're going to be reading. Remember, the pictures kind of go with the words. And behind there, you can see there's a chair, and I see, what else do we see? A basket hanging on the wall, and I have to look at my book on my computer. I see some dishes, and the dishes look a lot different than how our dishes look today. And it looks like a bottle, maybe a couple bottles, and I see a basket on the bottom on the floor that kind of looks like it maybe has fruit or potatoes or something in it, okay? And John's holding up his lunch bucket. And let's go over that line again. John, what is in your lunch bucket? And at the end of this sentence, notice there's a question mark. So we have to read it like someone's asking a question. John, what is in your lunch bucket? So then when mom's asking him this, he's going to show her, right? So let's look at the next line. It is the nest of a finch, mother. Now, finch was one of our new vocabulary words, and that was just a type of a bird. Next line. It has eggshells in it, John said. How many eggshells do you see? I see 2. So if you guess 2, you're right. But, okay, let's look at the last line. But where is the finch? His mother said. Uh-oh, where do you think the finch is? Now, when you look back through your words, we had a lot of new vocabulary words on just one page. So we had John, the very beginning, and in the first line there was 3, lunch and bucket, and then the next line, finch, and then the next line, eggshells. So those were your new words. And when we come back the next time on video, we're going to review those words again. We'll go ahead and do a picture walk of the next 2 pages, and we'll read the words together, and then you'll have a workbook page, and that's it for this week. So pretty easy, okay? See you soon.